All right, so here's the thing. I've basically been trying to make this video for about 2 months. If you remember, when I did my New Year's vlog, I mentioned I wanted to do more like scripted or discussion style videos. And because last year I got very into a lot of the YouTubers that talk about like scams and stuff like that, Kira TV, Big Fry TV, Callum Upton, I wanted to do a video talking about asset flips, talking about what an asset flip is, good use of assets, bad use of assets, things like that. And I started by writing a script. I wrote about half of it in one sitting and then was like, all right, I'll get to the other half later. Never got to the other half. Or I should say, I did get to the other half, or at least maybe not the other half, but I did get back to it and try to write again. But the more I read over the script, the more I was like, this isn't good. I don't think the script was necessarily written badly, but I didn't think it was going to be an exciting video. I didn't think it was going to be a good video. I thought it was just going to be kind of meh. And I think part of the reason is because even though I was talking about assets and asset flips, I wasn't really illustrating a lot of it. I was, planning to, when I was editing, have like B-roll in the background of kind of what I'm talking about, but I don't think it was really entertaining. I don't think it was really a good video. So now, 2 months later, I decided I was going to do a video where I make an asset flip live. And while I make that asset flip, I also talk about asset flips. Basically do the discussion that I wanted to do in the scripted video, just in unscripted way while I'm making an asset flip to show that process, show like really what it takes to make an asset flip. Yeah, that video is awful too. Mostly because I should have known from past videos I can't multitask. So me trying to make a game and then talk about something in an unscripted way, it just was not going to work. It didn't work. I just kept rambling, kept getting distracted. It was not a good video. This is basically my third attempt at making this video. So basically, what this video is going to be is me showing you two types of asset flips. I have Unity up. I have two projects loaded. One being the project that I was making for the other video, and one being just a pure asset flip that I'm going to show you the actual process of flipping the asset pack that I bought. And the goal of this video is not just to be like, hey, asset flips suck. It's mostly to show what an asset flip is, because the problem with a lot of the YouTubers that talk about scams and everything is they'll mention that these games have a bunch of store-bought assets, but really won't go into depth about why that's a bad thing. And it's a bad thing in most of those cases because they are using the assets wrong. They are either buying a ton of assets and then going on Kickstarter and saying, look at this game we're able to make, without telling anyone that the game is primarily store-bought assets, or they're using assets that just don't work together. They don't look good together. It's just like they are basically putting zero work, zero effort into the game and hoping people give them a lot of money for it. But because these YouTubers don't go into a deeper discussion about that ever, there's two main side effects to it. One, you get gamers that think any game that uses a store-bought asset, regardless of the context, regardless of how big the studio is, the game's bad. It's just awful. They have this weird mindset that 100% of every game should be completely custom assets, should not buy anything from the store. And that is just a completely unreasonable expectation. I think my video where I tried to make a spider in Blender pretty much highlights why some people need to buy assets. I'm a programmer. I would even go as far to say that I'm a good programmer. What I am not is an artist. So for me to be expected to make every single asset in my game myself, it's just unrealistic. I'm going to need to buy assets to fill out the world, and it might not be cost effective, especially because I am not making any money from game development. It's just a hobby right now. It might not be cost effective to go and find an artist to make custom assets for me, especially if all I need is like a couch or a table. I can easily go into the Unity Asset Store, find one that matches the art style that I'm looking for, and buy that and just use that to fill out the world. Or you could have an artist that is maybe not the best programmer, maybe still in the learning process, and they want to have a build system in their game, but they don't know how to program a building system. They can go and buy an asset pack, and then they can not only use that in the game, but they can look at the scripts and learn it themselves and maybe modify it to work the exact way they need it to work. It's just completely unreasonable to think that an indie developer especially is going to use 100% custom assets, no store-bought assets. As long as they put in the effort to make sure that those assets work in the game that they are trying to make, then there's not really a problem. The second side effect, sort of along those same lines, is that you have developers thinking that if they use any store-bought assets, they are just an awful developer, they should be ashamed of themselves, it's just bad all around. But the problem is, that's what the asset store is there for. The asset store is there to buy these assets. There's plenty of assets that I've found just looking for these videos, looking through the asset stores, that I'm like, this is awesome. I should have actually like added them to my wish list or something, because some of them cost money, so I couldn't just download them immediately. But like, some of them are like, this is insane. I would never be able to do this myself. And they're the kind of assets that if I put them in my game, no one's going to notice that it's a store-bought asset unless they really, really try hard and look. As long as I, put in the effort to make sure that I integrate it properly in my game, no one's gonna notice, and no one should care. But you have a lot of the YouTubers that I mentioned where they'll talk about how they had a developer talk to them in private, PM them on Discord or wherever, and ask them if they should be worried about being labeled an asset flip because they used some Unity asset packs. And it's like, no, that's what they're there for. As long as you actually put the effort around the game, it's not an asset flip. But the thing is, and as I'm going to show when I actually get into the asset flip, like showing the asset flips, people that are making asset flips know that they're making asset flips. If you are the kind of developer that cares enough to reach out to a random YouTuber to ask them like, hey, do I need to be worried? Am I doing something wrong? Can you like give me advice? Because I don't want to be seen as an asset flip. If you are that worried about what people are going to think about your game, you're already way past asset flip, because a lot of the people that make asset flips know that they're making asset flips. They're making these games with as little effort as possible because they know if they spend $15 on assets and then put it on a store for $5, hey, after 3 sales, they broke even. They're just looking to squeeze as much money out of these games, out of these store-bought assets as possible, with as little effort as possible. So basically my entire point is store-bought assets, whether it's from the Unity store, Unreal store, some third-party store, whatever. Store-bought assets are good as long as you're using them in the right way. As long as, one, the assets are not the game. You are actually putting your own work into it. Like, even if you have all store-bought assets, as long as you are putting a ton of time into the programming and making sure that those assets actually function the way they're supposed to, you're not an asset flip. As long as you are integrating those assets together and making sure that you're not buying like a low poly model over here and then just an ultra realistic model over here, and you can clearly see that they don't look great together, and they just, you can tell just by looking at the game that it's clear, like a clear asset flip. As long as you're not doing either of those, you shouldn't have to worry. Just worry about making a good game. So now that I kind of have the discussion part out of the way, I think I hit all the points that I wanted to make. Again, this is not the like scripted version, because the scripted version was a lot longer and kind of went a lot more in depth than I feel like it had to. So hopefully all of that made sense. But what we are going to jump into now is showing the bad use of assets. Like I said, there's good ways to use the assets. There are also a lot of bad ways to use assets, and that's what I'm going to jump into here. I'm also going to try to explain what the right way to use all of these assets is. Not just say like, look, this is bad because assets, but what are these assets actually for? Like, how could I be using them better? So right now, what we are in is probably the most basic and most asset flippy of the asset flips. I don't even know really how to describe it, but basically we have let's go back to the main menu. I didn't realize I was still here. We have a simple puzzle game. It was bought from this asset pack. I think it was actually $10 when I first bought it. You can see I bought it like 2 months ago, because that was when I was originally doing the original script, and I figured I was going to have this sort of playing at one point where I was talking. But it is a full-on puzzle game. As you can see, it's I mean, I don't know why I'm showing you the video. I can show you in the game. I can choose the amount of pieces. Before I even do that, I can change the background to one of these just backgrounds, whatever I think looks good. Choose a puzzle. I can choose 48 pieces. It has the loading screen, has everything already implemented. This is a full project designed to just function right out of the box. I had to do nothing to get it to work. It has all of the coding and everything done itself. So if I were to want to use this in an asset flip sort of way, what I can do is take this image that I just found this online, just cute little puppy. I can modify the settings to make sure it works with the rest of the programming. It needs read write enabled. Is that it? It needs that might be it. Yeah, I think it just needed the read write enabled. So that's actually incredibly easy. All I need to do was change 2 settings and it is good to go. Now, if I go into prefabs, this panel level, which is in here somewhere, I think it's in settings. Yes, it is in settings, the settings script. Oh, it actually isn't panel level, it is settings. The panel level is in the... I actually don't think it's in the scene. I think it spawns later. That's actually the UI for the level. If I come here, see level 1 is this car. If I change it to that dog, I start the game up. It's going to load. I could also change that logo if I wanted to. And oh, what did you know? It is now a dog. And you can see in the pieces, it is now a dog. I put 0 effort into putting this together. All I did was find the image online. I could literally go to a stock image site, find a bunch of images, and just throw 9 images into the game. Just get some sort of theme, export, just build it as an Android project or iOS project, and just throw it onto the App Store. Throw it on the Google Play Store. I should even throw it on Steam if I want. They have no quality checks. But if I just make enough sales to cover the $10 plus whatever it costs for the stock image subscription or whatever, I've already made my money back. I could go... I saw some of the puzzle games, some like full games that had ad integration already. So I could put it onto the Google Play Store for free, just play a few ads. Eventually, if I get enough people downloading and play it, eventually I'll make the $10. Like, it's really not that much money. And the idea is I put in no work, so any amount of money I make from it, just pure profit. Now, why would someone use an asset pack like this? This seems very, like I said, very asset flippy. It's very just replace some textures and that's it. Like, I had to put in no effort for this game. Well, like I said, there's ones that have ad support integrated and all that. Some of them, if I can find them, are very clearly designed for this exact purpose. These ones are not, but there are some that basically market themselves as like publish ready. They are ready to be published. I actually can't find any of them. I saw a lot when I was trying to look for that puzzle game before, but there are some that just advertise themselves as publish ready. And obviously some of those, the way the wording is, the way everything, I feel like some of them are expecting to be bought by people that want to make asset flips. Ready for release. Yeah, things like this where it's not ready for release because the person that is buying this asset didn't put any effort into the game. Yeah, see, you can reskin them and put ads in no time. So something like this absolutely should not be bought by any respectable game developer because this is clearly designed just as an asset flip. It's literally in the description. It is designed for someone to buy, reskin, and put it out with no effort whatsoever. However, there are two main reasons you could buy some of these things. One, for example, in the puzzle one, maybe I don't know how to make a puzzle. Maybe I don't know, because it took a single image and sliced it up and added masking for like the pieces. I have no idea how to do that. I didn't know that was I mean, I guess I knew it was possible, but I've never actually looked into how to do something like that. And they basically have a mask and it masks it takes a section of the image and masks it. Like, I'm not going to get into the actual specifics, but it's something that I could buy this pack for $10 and just dig through the code and learn how it works and maybe use some of that code and modify it and stuff in my own game where I want to make a different jigsaw puzzle. Like, this only has one mask. Maybe I make 70 masks so that the pieces all look different, because right now each section is all the same because they're all using the same mask. Maybe I add more masks and do that. Like, I could use this just as a learning experience. And as a lot of these other ones say, it's like mini game. Obviously the quick look blocks it, but it has the word mini game down at the bottom. That's the other thing you could do. Say you have just like an exploration kind of game or whatever, and you want to put in like some sort of, maybe not a Rubik's Cube, but some sort of Rubik's Cube type puzzle. And you have no idea how to program something like that. You can get this pack that has the Rubik's Cube, has the functionality. Maybe it has the code to check if the cube is finished. Maybe it has the code to completely mix up the cube. And maybe it's just such a minor thing in your game. It's like something you decided to add in as like one little puzzle or maybe like an Easter egg or something. And you putting in the massive amount of effort to make a fully functional Rubik's Cube doesn't really make sense. So you could buy this and then just throw this in your game and make it like a cool little like puzzle that could be played. But the point is, you're not making this the entire game. You are not just taking someone's asset pack and just being like, yeah, this is it. This is all I'm doing. So there is, even in these full game packs, there is a lot of value, both in learning experience and just to fill in like mini games and things that it doesn't really make sense for you to waste a ton of time making yourself when you could be focusing on the actual main gameplay mechanics. So this game, obviously, see how egregious of an asset flip you can make with this. You can see how egregious some of the packs are, where they basically tell you that they are designed to just be reskinned and that's it. So let's move on to a sort of less obvious asset flip. And that is not this. This is a completely different scene. Did I not save the scene? Ooh, I you know what? I didn't save the scene, but this is actually a good thing because I can kind of show you the process that I went through to make this in the first place. Well, this I didn't make. This is the tutorial level for the Unity. It's like the Unity like first person template where it has sprinting, it has jumping, it has mouse movement, it has everything, all of the basic first person stuff set up. And it's designed so that you can just use this as a starting point. Like sprint, jump, it's not really complex stuff to like make, but it's just, it's a lot of work that shouldn't need to be done. If I'm gonna be honest, it's a lot of work that having a template that just does it for you instead of having to do it in every first person game you make, you know, completely fine. Now, what's not completely fine are the assets that I got for this. So I went through, this took about 5 minutes, by the way. It really was not that difficult. I went through, I searched for zombie, got this one. It's free, if you'll notice. You know, just zombie, already animated. We got trees. They're just trees, free again. We've got a grass texture, free again. And we got a sci-fi pistol, free again. Yeah, I went with all the free assets for this one. And more importantly, if you notice all these assets, one thing should be very clear. The art style does not match in the slightest. These are very low poly. This is a very, like, I don't know if I'd say yeah, maybe a little more cartoony of a grass texture. And then you have, like, an ultra, like, high detailed sci-fi pistol, and then a more realistic, like, zombie. Clearly, none of these assets go together. If you're making an asset flip, that doesn't matter. Remember when I was talking about the integration, when I was talking about like making sure that all of the assets work together? If I really wanted to make these assets work together, I could say I want a low poly thing. You know, I might choose these trees. These trees are good low poly trees. They're fine. They're perfectly acceptable. Grass texture, you know, maybe I could do a little better. Maybe I don't need something quite this detailed, but, you know, it's not bad. The zombie, I could have gone with something like this. It's $100, but I could have gone with something that basically is low poly zombie models, more cartoony zombie models. That would work a lot better with the texture, or with the trees, and with the low poly style that I'm going with. I'm sure if I scroll through here, go to other asset stores, whatever, I could find even better low poly ones. If I even just type low poly, I could probably find, yeah, I can find some other like zombie packs. It's really not that hard. You just have to want to put the effort in to find the correct assets that work with the rest of your art style. Of course, I did not do that. So what I would do in this case, I have this scene, which is just, again, the default Unity scene. Oh, I have my grass texture. Where's the grass? Stylized grass texture. Materials. I did fix the textures in the other video because they start as... I guess I have universal render pipeline on. It's been a while since I worked with Unity, so I don't really remember exactly what that is, but I apparently have that on, so any of the imported assets just don't work with it. I have to manually change them. That's neither here nor there. Point is, I could, well, that one doesn't really work great, but, Jesus Christ, why can't I? Yeah, there we go. And look, now the grass is... or the ground is grass. Done. I already have a grass texture. Now, if I say wanted to implement the sci-fi pistol, I also have another pistol, but I downloaded a different one because I wasn't sure about the materials, and I eventually figured it out. But, you know, I want to put this pistol in the world. I want to just, you know, loosely place it. You know what? That's actually pretty good. and then attach it to the, is it the player follow camera? I think player camera root was what I attached it to. So now the pistol just follows the camera. If I run, it does move forward because I guess the way the root works, but you know, it's an asset flip. It doesn't matter. I now have a pistol in the game. It doesn't shoot. Unfortunately, I would have to program that myself, and part of the problem with the programming is apparently my Visual Studio 2022 is not set up to have the right plugin to work with Unity. Like, I think my 2019 Visual Studio did, but 2022 apparently doesn't. Actually, I can fix that. Modify. I remembered how to fix it. I couldn't remember it in the actual... No, I do have it. Why is it not working? You know what? It's fine. For whatever reason, it wasn't working, and I'm not going to worry about the programming and trying to make it shoot, because it really doesn't matter for this video. Now I can throw in the zombie, which may be updated already. It may already just be running. Yes, I changed its animator to just always be running, because my idea would be, if I was doing the programming part, just have it there and just run towards me, and as soon as it collides with me, I die or it does damage or whatever. Again, I'm not going to worry about trying to make it use the animations correctly, use the idle animation, use the death animation. It's an asset flip. I don't care. I am just trying to put something out with these free assets that will make, honestly, it's all free, so at least one sale. Because if I make one sale, I've made more money than I put into this game. Oh, and then of course we got the trees. So I can just take this and just, you know, throw some trees down. Does it really matter where they are? Not really. Just filling out some trees. Don't mind me. Oh, I accidentally put one up there. It's fine. It's in a wall. Doesn't matter. It's an asset flip. And now I've got trees, which I can just climb up. Again, doesn't matter. It's an asset flip. Basically, if you can't tell, my point is, if I'm making an asset flip, if I'm literally just grabbing these assets and trying to make something to just put it out on the store for whatever reason, I'm not going to put in the time and effort to make it good. I accidentally put one there. Maybe I could remove that one. But this whole thing where I'm like accidentally climbing the trees, I could fix that by just making it like a cylinder collider instead of doing the mesh collider that I did. But why do I need to? Do I care if the player can climb a tree? No, it doesn't hurt me. They spend the $5 and don't refund the game. It doesn't really matter if they can climb a tree, if the game's fun or not. I get my money either way. Now, obviously, this is an extreme example of an asset flip, but I feel like it highlights the big difference between an asset flip and a not asset flip, or even just a game that uses assets badly and one that uses assets well. Again, like I said, the assets don't look great together. This sci-fi pistol does not work with this cartoony tree. This zombie does not work great with the cartoony trees or the grass texture. The grass texture does not work with the game at all. I don't think I put in the effort to make it not look metallic. Again, I could probably make it not shiny. I could go into the effort of making sure that the material is not shiny, but again, it's an asset flip. Why do I care? The goal is to finish this as quick as possible. If I spent a day on this, or even just more than an hour on this, I could get something working. I could get something that, you know, functions well enough to throw it on Steam, and hopefully someone will buy it and play it for a little bit. I could just add like a kill counter, and then, you know, you shoot the zombie, give it like 3 health. Every time I shoot it, it removes a health, and then it dies. It just like disappears, adds 1 to the kill counter, and then another zombie spawns somewhere. All of that, the amount of programming that it take to implement all that stuff, very, very minor. If that is all of the effort that I put in, it's clear that I just didn't put any care into the game. I just wanted to release something quick, and that's it. And that kind of goes back to my original point. if you are making an asset flip, you know you're making an asset flip. Like, if I put all of this stuff down and I go, yeah, that seems good enough, clearly it's because I don't care about the game. It's clearly because I am not willing to put in the effort to make sure the game's good. I just want to, throw things down and hope for the best. And again, hopefully I, put it for even like 99 cents on Steam, and, Valve takes their 30%. Every sale I get 70 cents. If I get 100 people buying the game, that's $70 in my pocket. Just, who cares? Like, I again put in an hour of work to make $70, and then if I supplement that income by making the puzzle game and just replacing the pictures and just pushing that to the store with ads, it's like, maybe not make enough money to make a career off of it, but you can easily make some quick cash off of something like that. Especially because none of the, like, Google Play Store, even the Apple App Store, and the Steam especially, they don't do any quality checking. Something like this, even if I would export this and try to push it to one of those stores, it would go through because, it's not a virus. It technically functions. So, yeah, why not? Like, there's no game, there's no reason for this to exist, but it could probably be up there. It could probably be pushed to the store with no problem. So I think I did everything I could to illustrate what an asset flip is, illustrate even some of the bad use of assets, just like the fact that the art styles don't match, because that's something that even someone that is trying to put in effort to the game, I've played some games where it was like clearly someone's first game, like it wasn't intended to be an asset flip, but they did their best, but their best was not the like $5 that they were charging for the game or whatever. And even that is one of the things that they constantly fall into. They just don't understand the concept of an art style, and don't understand that just because this low poly tree looks good doesn't mean it looks good next to this sci-fi pistol. So hopefully this video kind of helped illustrate some of the good and bad uses of assets, illustrate what an asset flip is, and hopefully, first of all, gamers that find out that there was an asset pack used for one of the games that they're playing actually look at the game and don't just blindly think that because they used assets it's a bad game. If they used assets and the assets actually fit with the game, and especially if you didn't know it was a store-bought asset until someone brought it up, it's probably not a bad use of assets. It's probably completely fine. Like, there's no reason you should be upset that you paid money for a game with assets if they put in the effort to make the game fun. And hopefully, from a developer's perspective, any would-be indie devs, hopefully don't fall into any of the pitfalls of like just bad uses of assets, but also, like with the gamers, get out of the mindset of asset store bad, because honestly there are a lot of good assets on the asset store. There are a lot of good reasons to use assets. These trees, honestly, I mentioned in the Blender one, I want to make a game that's, low poly or whatever. These trees aren't bad. Maybe, I would absolutely go through the asset store and try to find other trees and see if these trees are the best ones for the game. Maybe there's other trees that are better. Maybe once the art style's a little more fleshed out, maybe I don't want something super low poly. Maybe I want something slightly higher poly. Like, obviously, there's more effort than just, hey, these trees that I found for free in like under a minute, these need to go in my game. But I could also see these trees being used in a game, a proper game where everything else matches that low poly art style. And if I go here, there's probably plenty of assets, like even on sale, there's probably plenty of assets here that just could be used in a game, as long as the game makes sense, as long as the assets actually work with the game. And I'm not like getting a retro farmhouse and shoving that into, a low poly game. Like, I'm not pulling this and just being like, oh, it's a low poly game. Well, you know, this looks good enough, and not going to like top free assets and just being like, oh, yep, download all these. I'm just gonna shove all these into a game. Doesn't matter if they make sense with the game, whatever. So for now, I'm going to stop talking. I feel like I did actually get a lot of the points across that I wanted to get across. I feel like this video, unlike my first few attempts at this video, will actually come out, first of all, but also actually did enough to discuss what I wanted to discuss and hopefully get more of a discussion going, possibly. Let me know in the comments if there's any other topics you want me to talk about in games. Maybe I can illustrate them in this way. Maybe there are some topics that would work more with a scripted video. This one just was one of those without this kind of like illustration, and me being able to just go into the Uniassist store and kind of like show you what I'm trying to talk about. I didn't really feel like this concept worked necessarily as a scripted video, but maybe there are other concepts that would work, or maybe some sort of like hybrid scripted and non-scripted. Like maybe if I scripted the first part and then tried to just do an actual like showing you how the game works kind of thing, and then doing the showing you an asset flip, showing like the process and stuff, you know, maybe some sort of hybrid would work. But let me know if there are any other concepts or like discussion topics about games. I don't really know what to call them. If there's anything else though that you want me to talk about, then just let me know in the comments. But for now, I am going to end this video here. So thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.